Okay, so let's begin. We are picking up where we left off yesterday, in the middle of Perek Yud Beis, in the middle of the 12th chapter. And we were discussing yesterday this idea of Mayach Shalat al Lev, right? And we brought the words over here, Betoldoso, Beteva Yitziroso, the idea that this is how a person is born. A person is born with this energy, that a mind is able to be shalit on the heart, which means we gave two different definitions yesterday. The idea of first he could educate the heart, that it could explain to the heart by sharing, by opening up the light, so to speak, light switch, and the heart will understand. That's one way, or by controlling it. If all of a sudden you're about to do something that you shouldn't be doing, to be able at that moment to control it. Now he brings the word over here, Yitziroso, that is the format, that is the form. God decided that he was going to make a person with 2 feet standing upright as opposed to an animal. So unlike an animal, where the animal, the brain and the heart are on the same level, by a human being, the brain is above the heart. And therefore the brain is, by nature, has the control, over the heart. That's the way Hashem set up the world. And so by definition, I have to remember this fact in myself, that my brain is in control. Now, that is not to say that I want my brain to turn off my heart. I need my heart. I need my emotions. Right? That's what's making me, me. The idea, however, is, can I direct my emotions the way I want to direct my emotions, as opposed to my emotions directing me? When my emotions direct me, then I am on a roller coaster, up and down and up and down and up and down all day long. When my brain is in control, I am able to direct it. So where we left off yesterday is specifically with the mashal that we were talking about with the light and how light is able to push away the darkness. So let's start. We are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 lines down on page Yud Zayin, or page 33. We bring from Koheles, from Ecclesiasticles, the pasuk that says, that there is an advantage of wisdom in comparison to foolishness, like the advantage of or, of light over darkness. Perush, the Alter Rebbe explains, Kamosha ha'or yesh lo yisaron v'shlita v'memshala ala choshech. Just like the light has an advantage, namely that a little bit of light is going to push away a lot of darkness. It has shlita, it has control, and memshala, and in total control over it, right? Ala choshech. That what? Shemi'at or gashmi, a little bit of light, a little bit of physical light, doiche harbe min hachoshech, is able to push away a tremendous amount of darkness. Like we brought in the mashal yesterday, it's not a like situation. That if you put in a ball into a bathtub, the amount that the ball is going to go down into the water is going to be the amount that the water goes up. It's a like-to-like situation. Over here, that's not the scenario. What we're dealing with here is that you can be in a completely dark place, right? You're walking home, right, and it's totally dark, and you light a match, all of a sudden things light up. You're in a room, it's totally dark. You light a match, this little flame is going to change the whole appearance of the room. That's what happens. A little bit of light. So he says here that just a drop of light is going to be doiche, it's going to push away harbe min hachoshech, shenitche mimenu me'alav memela. And not just that it's a little bit of light that pushes away a lot of darkness, but also what we have is a situation here, like we mentioned yesterday, that there's no fight that's taking place here. It's not like there's a discussion. One side says yes, the other side says no, they go back and forth, this one brings his opinions, this one brings his opinion, and it's back and forth and back and forth and back and forth all day long. That's not the way it works. As soon as the light comes on, the darkness disappears. That's the mashal. So 2 points of the mashal, right? Point number one, a little bit could push away a lot. Point number two is that there is no argument. It happens automatically. So kach nitchem memela sichlis harbe shala klipa v'sitra acher shebachal lasmoli. So in the same manner, we could push away a lot of foolishness that is stemming from the klipa, from the sitra acher, that is on the left ventricle of my heart. Kamaimer Azal, like the rabbis teach us, Ella imke nichnas bo ruach shtus v'chulu. It says, how can a person possibly do an aveira? How can a person possibly sin? How can a person possibly do the wrong thing? Because a spirit of folly, the Gemara says over there, a spirit of folly all of a sudden pops into my mind and says to me, what's the difference? Does it really matter? Like I remember when we were younger, there were people that used to argue, does it really matter? Does God really care if I turn on or off the light on Shabbos? Right? And the obvious answer is, yeah, if you're thinking about it from a human mind where little things seem to not matter, right? So that you could have a logical argument there. But when you're talking about God, that logic doesn't make any sense. Because Hashem is as much involved in the minute as he's involved in the greatest thing. So yes, it does matter. Right? The Rebbe, what was the story? There's a story about one time a rabbi was interviewed, I think it was on the radio or whatever, and he was talking about, how could it be that for such a small act on Shabbos that someone could get such a tremendous punishment, and it's such a little thing, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the Rebbe remarked about how he felt it should have been answered, this question. And the answer that he gave was, that was back in the late 60s, when the spaceship finally reached the moon. And he said like this, let's imagine a person, right, he's been training for years to be able to be on this mission, to go to the moon. Think about how much effort the United States government put into this astronaut through training, how much they invested monetarily into him, how much they invested into the spaceship, how much science went into it, how much research went into it, how much time, hundreds, thousands, maybe tens of thousands of hours from so many different people, until they finally can make it to a situation where they have a spaceship where it's going to go up to the moon. And then the astronauts, they get ready, the day of the trip, the day that it's going to happen. Right? 10, 9, 8, blast off, boom, the rocket ship goes up into space. And the rocket ship is going, and all of a sudden, the guy says, the astronaut says, I think I need a smoke. He pulls out from his, pocket, pack of cigarettes, takes a cigarette, goes ready to light to strike a match, to light up. Hey, wait, whoa, come on, you can't do that. What's the difference? Just a little match, I just need a little drag on my cigarette. Everyone would think that that's crazy. So the Rebbe was explaining, this is the same thing. Hashem set the world in existence. Hashem made Shabbos. Hashem gave us halachas, rules of how to live on Shabbos. And we think, turning on the switch or turning off the switch, what's the big deal? Does it really matter? The answer is yes, it really does matter. And the real point that the Alter Rebbe keeps on coming back to throughout the entire Tanya is that it really does matter. Everything in my life really does matter. Whether we're talking about the big things or we're talking about the little things, it really does matter. It's important to remember that fact. So you could say, oh, that's overwhelming. Or you could say, that is the most optimistic thing I ever heard. Because it means that in any moment, I could change, I could develop, I could elevate. Like we're learning in our classes in the morning, where it talks about in chapter 27, how with one instant, a person can change all of existence by him bending his natural desires, bending his nefesh habahamis, his animal soul. That's incredible. Little old me, that I'm going to be able to change the world? The Alter Rebbe says, yes, that's exactly what the Torah is telling us. And the proof is that you are here in this world. If you're here in this world, you have a mission. I have a mission. We have to be doing this mission. That's why we're here. So what happens to us? What happens to us is the nefesh bahamis, the animal soul, puts this thought in our mind. We don't matter. What we do doesn't matter. What we say doesn't matter. For sure, what we think doesn't matter. What's the difference? Who cares? You think it really matters? That's called, in the language of the Gemara, ruach shtus, a spirit of folly, a foolish thought that pops into our mind. That is what causes us to do the wrong thing, when we really don't think that what we're doing is important. And the Alter Rebbe is telling us that that's not the case. And so therefore, all you need is a little bit of light to push away that thought. The nefesh bahamis, the animal soul, is going to keep on pushing this agenda. It's going to keep on pushing this thought. You don't matter. What you do doesn't matter. What you say doesn't matter. Come on. Don't worry about it. Don't take it so seriously. And what we need is that little bit of light coming from our intellect, coming from our brain, that recognizes, if I'm here in this world, I matter. And not only I matter, what I do matters. What I think matters. What I say matters. That's what Tanya is teaching us. And as soon as that comes into my mind, all of a sudden, all this foolishness that's stemming from the klipa, from the sitra acher, from the other side, from the side that's not holy, which is telling me day and night, I don't matter, it's going to be pushed away. That gets pushed away because because immediately the nefesh alokis wins. Because of the wisdom that's coming from the nefesh alokis, shebemayach asher, right, which is in the brain, asher ritzayna limsho levado be'ir, which its desire is to be in total control over the body. That's why I was sent into this world. That's my mission here. Each one of us has, on the one hand, the same mission, and on the other hand, a totally different mission. We all have our independent, individual missions that God set forth for us, and we have a general mission that we could apply to what the Tanya is saying to us, to push away these negative thoughts, to not allow them to take control, to not allow the animal inside of me to take control over me. And not to allow the animal within me to take control of my thoughts, to take control of my words, and to take control of my actions. Instead, where do I have to be? Where I have to be is constantly coming back to my thoughts, my speech, and my actions of Tariag Mitzvah Satira Kanal, right? That, namely, that we go back to the 613 mitzvahs of the Torah. That's what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm speaking about. That's what I'm doing. I'm changing the world in this manner. Nevertheless, eino nikra tzadik klal. On the other hand, so a person can say to himself, if I have that power, that my nefesh alokis by nature, my brain is able to control my heart, that all I need is a little bit of light, and it should push away all this darkness. So then, what's the problem here? Maybe I'm a tzaddik already. I have it within me anyway. So what's the issue here? So the Alter Rebbe says, no. Don't make that mistake. Even though, yes, it's true that the nefesh alokis does have the power to win over the nefesh bahamis. But the Benoni is a Benoni. Remember, we're talking about it's two different pathways that we're talking about here. He was created differently. And therefore, even though right now the nefesh bahamis is not winning, he's still not a tzaddik. How do I know this? Mipnei sheyisoron hazeh asher la'or nefesh alokis ala choshech v'asichlis shel klipas nidchem emela eino ela b'shlosha levushe hanal. Because at the end of the day, what's happening is that yes, it's true that the nefesh alokis is winning. Yes, it's true that it's expressing itself and not allowing the nefesh bahamis to express itself. But where is it winning? It's winning on the battlefield. The battlefield where I have to be fighting my battle, which is the garments of the soul. My thought, speech, and action. That's where it's winning. V'lo b'mohuso v'atzmuso, but not on the essence of the being himself. Ki al mohuso v'atzmuso shel haklipa, ki mohuso v'atzmuso shel nefesh bahamis shemha klipa shebachal asmali lo nitcha klal mimekomo bebenoni. Right, achar hatfila. Because the bottom line is that what are we seeing? We're seeing that the essence of the nefesh bahamis, the essence of the animal soul, is still there. Just like we said before. Like we said earlier, yes, it's true that during davening, when it's the auspicious moment and he's on fire and he has moichin the gadlus, the brilliant, what we said before, right? The brain is ginormous and it's just flowing into his heart and everything is just godly. But then it dissipates. It goes away. That energy goes away. And the nefesh of Bahamis, the animal soul, comes back. A tzaddik doesn't have these possible thoughts popping up into his mind, these negative thoughts popping into it. It's just not there. Even a tzaddik viralo, even a tzaddik who's not a complete tzaddik doesn't have this stuff. But a Benoni does. Just that the Benoni has the strength within him that he's going to win. Because after the davening, when he was in fire, when the heart was burning like a burning fire, like he says here, she'ein rishpei eish ahavas Hashem b'hizgalus liba b'chala yemini, right? Because at that point in time, the burning fire that he had for Hashem and for wanting to do what Hashem wants is no longer there. Ki im toicha ratzuf ava misuteres shehi ha'ava hativis shebenefesh elokis. Now what happened is all he has left over is, for the first time, we're now seeing in this parak, we're being introduced to what is known as the the ava misuteres, the hidden love. The hidden love that every single Jew has within him. We're going to get more into a conversation about this hidden love in chapter 19. But every Jew has within him this hidden love in his heart, this love for Hashem, the same way that a child has a love for a parent. But the difference is, it's not a love that's like a burning flame love. That was the love that he had when he was davening. When he was davening, he was on fire. He was on fire for God. And therefore, it was expressing itself in his actions, in every aspect of his garments, and there was no battle there. Now that it dissipated, what's left in him? What's left is this hidden love, the natural love, not the love that he created, that he worked on. And this love doesn't have the power that the fiery love had that from the davening. And therefore it can't totally divorce the nefesh bahamias from his body. And that's where he's left with. So Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to continue tomorrow, and we're going to see how the Benoni is supposed to react to this situation and where we go from here.